Hey Dump and Chase fans, Voice of the Phantoms Matt Lipsack here. Sam, Justin, congratulations on the 2-year anniversary of the Dump and Chase podcast. I am, so grateful to Phantoms team president Andrew Goldman for allowing you, Sam, to come up to the press box. Can't remember if that was last season or the season before, but thanks, Andrew, so much. Oh, but in all seriousness, enjoy the show, guys. Great work. Keep it going. I think you're longer than the tenure that the podcast that I had. So keep up the great work, and I will always cherish this guy right there, friend of the show.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 44th edition of the Dump and Chase podcast. In this episode, we are celebrating the show's 2-year anniversary. Now, this anniversary was actually a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to check, and by the time I did, we already had Matt Lipsack booked. And when we come up with a way to get Matt on the show that isn't a run-of-the-mill interview, we roll with it, and we roll with it hard. My name is Sam Olmstead, and I am the co-host, head writer, editor, audio engineer, producer, and director of this very podcast. And joining me, as always, is the co-host, technical director, graphics designer, video engineer, social media coordinator, and legal counsel, Mr. Justin Irwin.
Yeah, one of those I am not licensed for.
We've joked for a while to create new end credits that scrolls with every job title we could think of that only has our names in it. I figured at the very least we could use it for the intros for this episode.
Mine as well. Our other material is probably not going to be as exciting.
Yeah, it was, January 2019 when we really started kicking around the idea of doing this show, and probably the end of February when we really got serious, started putting this show together. I remember in the beginning, the original microphone I was going to use, it was like this 9-year-old headset that had the audio left and right cables on it. One of those plastic neon microphones that adds echo to your voice probably would have sounded better. And then, and then I think we both bought the same like $35 quote unquote podcaster set, which was just a little cardioid microphone with a mic stand where none of the things would tighten right, and it kept flopping all over the place. And
speak for yourself. That's what I'm using right now. Seriously.
That microphone I had, it might have been better suited for like a bedroom karaoke machine than what we were trying to use it for. But thankfully, 8 or 9 seconds in, Blue Yetis went on sale on Amazon, and I haven't looked back since. Oh, you're so beautiful. So beautiful. And Justin can attest to, yes, I'm petting my microphone right now.
Yes, he is.
Another thing I wanted to do before we really got going into the show, you always like to make jokes about getting texted by me at 2 a.m. while I'm editing audio. We record late at night to begin with, and I typically stay up later than that to have the raw audio ready for you in the morning. Since we have like 4 years worth of text conversations that I've never deleted, I thought I would go back through and look at some of the things I've texted you after midnight when I was editing. These are just a few of my favorites. See if you can remember any of these. Did you get your audio uploaded yet?
There's so many of those that I can't. Anyone particular. Yeah, I mean, sometimes file uploads kind of die, and you're sitting there going, but it said 2 minutes left, and you look over and it says 34 minutes left.
Yeah,
and it's counting up.
Well, my next one, did something get screwed up? Your audio isn't in Drive. My next one, I've refreshed it 7 times. It's still not showing up. And then I found your audio. It said it was uploaded 5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, that was that's the Zoom likes to tag things as being recorded back in the 1980s or
Yeah.
something.
I couldn't find it. It was all the way at the bottom of the list, and it said it was updated in like 2010. Uh, let's see. I'm not seeing your audio in Drive. Did you lose internet again? And of course, my favorite. I'm having trouble editing the show. The audio you uploaded is from 6 episodes ago.
Oh, come on. Technical details.
I think I actually got like 30 seconds into that before I realized what you're saying is not making sense to what I'm saying. And I'm like,
I'm surprised you realized it that soon,
and
because most of what I say doesn't make sense.
and I look at the file and I'm like, oh, this is like an episode we did 2 months ago.
Hard to imagine that once again I am being asked to participate in the Dump and Chase podcast. But I am, and I'm always trying to do what's right. So, yes, you guys are allowed to come back as season ticket holders. And yes, so long as you allow me to be on your podcast more than Matt Lipsack, we can continue to do business. So, Matt, you're welcome for letting Sam come up into the booth last year. And boys, have a great offseason and congratulations on 2 years. 2 years?
2 years.
2 years. Enjoy.
Okay, so with so with that out of the way, let's get into the Phantoms last weekend with Chicago, and let's do it as quickly as possible. Phantoms traveled to Chicago for 3 games last weekend. Friday night was a 4-0 loss. Saturday was a 5-1 loss, as well as Sunday was a 5-1 loss. All weekend, the only goals, those 2 goals, the only ones scored by the Phantoms that weekend, both by Jack Silich. And as you pointed out, after the weekend was over, Chicago scored at least 1 goal in all 9 periods of those 3 games. This is going to be a very quick recap. Getting into 4 points, what I liked, there wasn't much. I would say seeing future Phantoms, the affiliates to 2020 Phase 1 picks, Tyler Catalano and Mario DiMaggio, I got to see them get some USHL ice time. Very well, most likely could be with the Phantoms next season. And in all reality, just the games they played Friday and Saturday, to me, they didn't look out of place out there.
No. They look comfortable. I guess probably going into that type of game, low expectations. I'm sure they tried their hardest, but they know that they're not the reason why we lost. Just go out and try your hardest. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the things you got to make out of a season like this is at least these times we get to see, maybe a few more call-ups.
All right, so what did you like from this weekend?
I like that it was our last road game. Our road record is impressively bad. So we've, won 2 road games?
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know how to put it. It's amazingly bad. So, the rest of the games are home games, marginally better at home. So
here we go. I'm bringing this is having Matt on the last show and actually taking the time to look things up. I felt inspired to actually make an effort to start doing this. So let's see here.
Oh, I can bring it up on the USHL website.
Yeah. 24 road games this season. The Phantoms were 3-19, 1-1.
Yeah. So 3 games.
I almost wish I didn't look that up now.
8 points total out of 24 games. Yeah. 48 total points you could get. We got 8.
Yep. All right. So set the timer here. What didn't you like from this last weekend?
With that, I'm going to go with our complete lack of goal scoring. 9 periods, 2 goals. One was a 5-on-3. We had plenty of other 5-on-3 power plays, all sorts of chances. Nobody other than Silich could finish, and yeah, he had 1 even strength goal and the 5-on-3. Just completely outplayed. Yeah, 2 goals.
Yeah, as far as what I didn't like, there's really nothing I could bring up at this point that we haven't beaten to death, buried in the ground, dug up, and beat again. So I'm going to go with the atmosphere of the game, as we'll call it. Yeah, 3 games this weekend didn't sound so much like a hockey game, sounded like an episode of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Mark Citron is a good broadcaster. I'd put him, in the upper levels in the league as far as calling a hockey game. The nickname, everything has to have a nickname, whether it makes sense or not. Everybody and everything has to have a nickname. Everything has to have an accompanied sound effect that goes along with it. I mean, we've heard worse this season, last season, most definitely. We've heard much worse in the broadcast booth. The animal noises, and by the time getting into Sunday and maybe getting a little tired, they cease to sound like animal noises, and for lack of a better term, started sounding a little more pornographic. It wasn't necessary.
Like they do on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, did I go with a Bad Touch reference?
Yeah.
But that's where we suck to, folks. Yeah.
My favorite moment, and I don't have one. I don't think there was any point during those 3 games where I smiled at all, was like happy about anything at all. I don't want to water down this segment by coming up with something just for the sake of coming up with an answer for this. And it's just just this last week. Like, I don't have one. There was nothing about this last weekend that was my favorite moment.
The final buzzer was the best moment.
Yeah. I mean, do you agree with that, or?
110%.
Yeah. We're going to agree on the next one. Weekend MVP, Silich. Yeah. It's not. You already covered that. There's not much more to say. Yeah. Just terrible weekend all around.
I mean, you can make excuses for players out of the lineup, etc., etc. It was just all around awful. As Sir Charles Barkley would say, terrible.
We don't ever want to make a point of, kicking the team when they're down, but it's just it just all season long. It just seems like one excuse. Every weekend it's some excuse for why this or why that, and I don't begrudge anybody for making those excuses. It's just I think it's just time to just say, unfortunately, for the story of this season was this team was just not good. I mean, the individual players themselves, I mean, there are some very good, players on this team. Just as a unit, it just didn't work out this season.
That happens. I mean, I've seen professional teams engineered to win playoffs and not be much better, so
it's your 2-year anniversary, and you're asking me for your help again. Can't you find somebody else to bother you? Why is it always me?
Okay, so let's bring the mood up a little bit. Just kind of our middle fluff for this episode. We're just going to wax a little nostalgic, stories and stuff like that over the past few years and everything else. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I try to think like stories about doing the podcast, stuff we haven't talked about. I will do a little bit of bragging at the beginning because we record remotely. I'm in my house. Justin is in his. Never once in 2 years have we recorded anything where we were like in the same physical space as each other. We sit together at games and everything like that, but as far as actual anything for the show, we've never been in the same physical space. So I will do a little bit of bragging because we've been doing this remotely since 2019. And there's a lot of other podcasts that had to figure out how to do their shows remotely when the country locked down last year. A couple podcasts I listened to before quarantine was, pretty much instituted across the country. They were in the same physical space. They recorded together, and then quarantine hit, and then they had to start recording remotely. And a lot of them struggled mightily in the beginning trying to figure it out. We'd already been doing it for a year.
The thought of having to record together would be like, how would we do that?
Now, see, when you listen to an episode, what you hear is what I have decided will be suitable for airing. There's a lot of extra and everything else that gets edited out. And I will definitely say, I think there are times where it's a good thing that we're not within an arm's reach of each other while we are recording.
And there would be at least some smack upside the head at some point of, why would you say that? There's another job title you can add, standards and practices.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as doing this, I mean, every once in a while we do a segment that people actually kind of like, I guess, for lack of a better term, tolerate, whatever word you want to use. Um, every once in a while we hit on it, we do a segment that kind of really affects people on a emotional level. Fan fight night was one of those. Probably one of our biggest reactions we've ever had to a segment, and it was mostly other people making their suggestions for what could be included in a fan fight night. And I got to thinking about this in the world of social distancing and masks and everything else. We may be due for like a COVID version of fan fight night at some point here, maybe before the season's over. The COVID version of this promotion. Because
I'm pretty sure you know who my pick was going to be.
Yeah, with the masks and the social distancing, I think we have a whole new list of things we could bring into this. Might be something.
Yeah.
It might be something we'll do before the season's over. Yeah, we get the one question we do get from time to time is why when we do a podcast it's all audio, we don't ever do video. You don't rarely ever see us. And I think the one we did with Matt last summer was the only time we really did anything video wise. And that was just because that's his format. Number one, we're not much to look at. That's number one.
And primary.
We most definitely have faces for podcasting. But when we do like these interviews over Zoom and stuff like that, we're on video. We can see each other. And after this last one with Matt, it's become crystal clear to me why. Justin can't sit still to save his life. He's out of frame like half the show. So we'd almost have to like duct tape him to a chair to keep him in frame. Apparently when I'm on video and I'm not talking, I have a habit of like weirdly touching my face and doing different things with touching my face to keep myself occupied when I'm not talking. And nobody wants to see that. And I never really realized I did it until I kind of saw that back. And yeah, so that's why we won't do a video podcast. We promise you all you're much better off just listening to us than being able to see us. And I'm sure after
People
last...
will be sitting there going, what the hell? What happened to his head?
Yeah.
Is that a head wound?
Yeah. You actually had a head wound. Which I didn't notice in recording, but when I was looking for a specific moment in the video for a screen grab later on, it looked like you were growing another head out of the top of your head. Yeah, but another thing, over the last couple of years, we've told stories from us, sitting together at games, things that have happened, and stuff like that. So again, trying to come up with stuff that we've never talked about before. One thing that I always got a laugh out of, I wanted to bring up from 4 years ago, was this unspoken flirtation, this unspoken relationship between Justin and Ivan Kolbakov. Our end of the ice, the Phantoms are shooting towards in the first and third period. The second period, they're shooting the other direction. So we'd have Ivan down in net, 12 feet in front of us, for the entire second period. Ivan was one of those goaltenders. Every time there was a whistle, he had to do like a little skate over to the boards and back to the crease, and would take his blocker pad and like tuck it into his, leg pad.
Like me, he had trouble sitting still.
Yeah. He had his whole little routine, and he would always skate around right in front of us. Every single time he would skate by, Justin would give him this little like finger wagging wave. And almost every time, Ivan would just kind of look back at Justin and give him a little wink as he went by. This was almost every single time that season.
For 20 minutes a game.
20 minutes
every stoppage.
Every stoppage is you waving at him and him winking at you.
I think because the first and third, he's at the other end, and there's nobody behind him at that end. And we know Colby was a bit of a show hound.
However many episodes back, Justin had told that, we both went back and forth telling the stories about how we first met and everything like that. And part of the story was, he said one of the first things he remembered about me was because I sit directly behind him, was he was looking at what will generously be called inappropriate memes on his phone. And he was looking at something and then heard me laughing over his shoulder and was like, okay, this guy gets it.
I remember exactly what it was, too.
And you remembering it will be the furthest we'll go with this.
Yep, because it was definitely inappropriate. But when you started laughing, I'm like, all right, this is a good one. Even the people behind me think this one's funny.
And I thought about that, and the thing about that story is never once did it strike you as, hey, why does this guy I barely know, why is he looking over my shoulder to see what I'm doing on my phone? I kind of thought of that. Like, that should have been like maybe a red flag or something, but you just, I guess, breezed right past it, which worked out well for me.
But my spirit animal is a bull.
Yeah.
I see red flags, I charge at them.
I started thinking about that, and then I thought about another time when I did something like that. This was a couple seasons ago, where Justin screwed around a little in the off season and didn't get his season ticket information in quick enough, and somebody actually went ahead and reserved his seat. Just one woman by herself reserved his seat, so he had to slide down to the other end of the section. Now
3 seats, yeah.
Now I won't use this woman. We knew this woman before. All of this. Very sweet woman. Very kind woman. Always was happy to see her at games. I believe her living situation and work situation was why she, especially COVID and everything else, why she hasn't been around the last couple years. But a very sweet woman. She had a habit of, she would only stay for about half the game. She'd leave maybe halfway, 3/4 of the way through the second period. And apparently she'd get bored really quick, and she would pull out her cell phone, which had like an e-reader app on it. She would start reading romance novels with a very large font on her cell phone. I would say these romance novels were graphic, and I don't mean pictures.
Yeah.
The language used would make 50 Shades of Grey seem like the little engine that could. And several times during a game, I would catch myself looking down to see what she was reading, and oh boy, I was looking around for the nearest bottle of holy water. I was seeing things on her screen that would have made Marines blush.
Well, I believe she was ex-military, so.
Another thing I love about the games, we have our 222 crew, some adoptees from the next section over. After a while, once you're there for so long, I love the fact how it becomes this tight-knit little group. I think this was best displayed. Was it this season?
I think it was this season, only because I can remember there being a little bit of extra tension, I think, and that's, due to
earlier
social distancing and
early on. It may have very well been in December and everything else. I had got to the game. Me and my son had got to the game a little bit later than we normally do. Everybody else was already there because I usually beat you there, but everybody else had beaten me there. So I got in there. I come around the corner to come up the steps to get to our seat. There's 2 girls sitting in my seats, 2 teenage girls. And when I walk around the corner and all of you guys saw me, you all immediately turned around and started screaming at these girls to get out of those seats.
We got your back, homie.
I didn't know what had happened up to this point. All I knew is I came around the corner, there were 2 girls in my seats, and you guys were all lighting them up, telling them to move. And they got up like in a panic and like almost took off running out of that section. And come to find out that apparently this had already been going on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, we tried to be polite and say, this is somebody's seat. They're a season ticket holder. This their seat every game. They'll be here soon. I know this personally. So, yeah. And I guess, I don't know, they had some other seating issue, maybe, and were directed to move somewhere else, and maybe somebody had told them to sit there. I don't believe so, but it's plausible, whatever, but, we tried to be nice, and they got combative, and you don't come at the crew that way.
Yeah. Now, again, I didn't know any of this. I come around the corner, I see 2 people in my seats, and then I see all of you look at me, and then it kind of turned into like that South Park angry mob. where I wasn't hearing words. I was just hearing rabble, 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 rabble. And these girls just get up and run away.
So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, and it's our section. I mean, through thick and thin. Baby diapers left under seats and...
Which is a story we've told many times.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, I dropped a nacho in the boards like 3 months ago, and I think it's still there.
I still have a ticket laying in the little trough thing at the back of the boards from last season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even the last game. I think it was the second to the last.
Now, as far as putting these episodes together, probably where it gets really interesting for us is in post-production. Once all the recording's done, all the editing and putting together begins.
And the claws come out.
Yeah, me and Justin are very good friends. We've been very good friends for 4 years now. The closest we come to ending our friendship is during post-production. Between me getting these audio files from Justin that are like 1.5 gigabytes, and anybody who has ever had to download anything from Google Drive will know it does not matter how fast your internet connection is. It's going to take a while. Me complaining about your keyboard clicks while you're recording because it sounds like you're beating on your keyboard with a mallet instead of just typing. Every time you tell me to upload a picture and then you complain about the quality and I have to go back and do it all over again. For anybody who doesn't know, 99% of the time, anytime you see anything on social media promoting an episode or anything else like that, I'm the one who writes it. Even if that post is not flattering to me, I'm the one that wrote it. So constantly being hounded by you for social media descriptions. Yeah, there has been many times where our friendship comes very close to ending during post-production. And then the funniest thing is, because we'll be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Once the episode's released, we won't talk to each other for like a day. Like you send me a message, it says, okay, the episode's uploaded, posting to social media. And then we don't talk again for like 24 hours. Like that's where the conversation ends.
Usually, I was going to say, yeah, we don't until we get to the game.
And unless I have to message you and say, hey, you spelled podcast wrong on YouTube. You might want to go back and fix that. And then we get back to that whole possibly ending the friendship part. Yeah, if there's a game that night, we'll talk then. But like if it's an away game or what there isn't a game that night or whatever, we will not talk until like the next day. Like it's almost like we need that cooling down time before we speak to each other.
One of us finds a very inappropriate meme that we have to share with someone.
That's like how we offer penance to each other. We just we're at each other's throats all during post-production. We don't talk for a little while, and then one of us will like offer up an inappropriate meme to the other one as like an olive branch to get the conversation rolling again. There's a psychologist out there somewhere who could probably get rich off of us.
I should probably publish like studies and papers in New England Journal of Medicine.
All right, so do you want to say anything to the Dump and Chase podcast guys on their 2-year anniversary?
I don't even know what that is, man. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now it's time to take a look at this weekend's games. Now, as of this recording, the Thursday game against Chicago has been played, with the Phantoms losing 5-4 in overtime. We will go over that in the next episode. So, Friday and Saturday, the Muskegon Lumberjacks will be coming to town, and right now, Muskegon is 8 points behind Chicago, with the Jacks having 2 games in hand. If we are correct, Muskegon actually holds the tiebreaker over Chicago, so that would mean that Chicago's magic number is 3 as far as clinching the first seed in the Eastern Conference. I would imagine Muskegon will be battling this weekend as long as the hope of a number 1 seed is still there, because as it looks now, the 1 seed will either get the U17s or Dubuque, and the 2 seed will get Green Bay.
Yeah, definitely a prize to be had there in the seeding. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit more desperate Muskegon. Obviously, we're going to have to bring our A game, which has been in short supply.
So, Friday and Saturday, both nights, the puck will drop at 7:05. Friday night is Autism Awareness Night, where a sensory room will be provided. And Saturday night, the Phantoms will be decked out in their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles jerseys. with a jersey auction taking place after the game. And as is every Saturday night, it will be Drink at the Rink, with $1 beers being sold until the end of second intermission.
Yeah, I'm sure the jersey thing will be interesting. Did you see the jerseys?
Yes, I saw them.
Yeah. So I've seen other places do the autism night and provide a quiet area or a quiet arena for people, and yeah, it's a interesting concept. I hope it works out for us, and I hope this is something we can keep doing in the future.
And we're coming down to the end of the episode, which means it's time for another segment of Ask Justin. I think Matt Lipsack really had the right idea for this segment in the last episode. Instead of looking for deep philosophical questions and answers, I think we need to simplify it a little bit. So I'm just going to rapid fire some questions at you and get your take. Are you ready for this?
Let me have it.
Okay. All right, 5 games remaining on the Phantom schedule. 2 with Muskegon, 2 with the under-17s, and 1 with the under-18s. 10 possible points. We'll put the over-under at 3.5 points. Where would you pick?
3.
So you'd take the under.
I take the under.
I would love to be an optimist here, and I will be more than happy to be wrong, but yeah, I'd take the under.
I have a feeling I'm being generous in your eyes.
Okay, so next question. Former Sioux City Musketeers star and current Pittsburgh Penguin Jake Gensel. Stanley Cup champion, prolific scorer, loves milkshakes. If he wasn't drafted by the Penguins and played on a line with Sidney Crosby these past 5 years, would he still be a standout player in the NHL?
I believe so, yes. I mean, obviously playing on the line with Crosby does not hurt, but he's shown his ability with Crosby out of the lineup. He's excelled. He's got a great shot. He's exceptionally smart, and probably a lot of that's playing with Crosby. You learn a lot, but he's got the IQ. So you put the skill with the IQ. You have a person who will contribute regardless of who he's on a line with.
Okay, we'll switch it over to music here. Better outfits on stage, George Clinton or Bootsy Collins?
When we say outfit, we mean purely the clothes, because that's going to be Bootsy. But if we consider the whole persona, hair, basic freak show, hands down George Clinton, who I've seen twice. Awesome show.
Okay, so better overall look on stage. Maybe that'd be the better question.
That's going to be George Clinton. When the mothership lands, it's off the hook.
There are going to be anybody listening to this under a certain age is going to be flying to Wikipedia.
Please do. Hit YouTube, guys. You won't be disappointed.
Okay, moving on. Best concession item at the Covelli Center.
And there's another one of those. What do we consider concession?
Any concession item, whether
the gyro stand, hit the gyro stand, get a gyro, maybe a sausage sandwich. Damn, are they good?
I think for me, I would say the giant pretzel, just because it harkens back to the days of the Hills snack bar, and the giant pretzels they had.
Hills is where the toys are.
That's right.
Another thing the kids are going to be like, what?
Yeah, what's Hills? My only complaint is when you get a pretzel that big, you get a cheese cup. There is a certain group who I won't name. I don't want to drag anybody, but there is a certain group that tends to run the concession stand at least once a weekend, that they dispense of the cheese like they're the ones paying for it. When somebody hands you a pretzel the size of your head, you can't give them a half-filled cheese cup. That is not going to work. I have to remember that if they send out those end-of-season surveys to the fans. I'm going to have to remember to put that one on there. And finally, in the history of Phantoms coaches, which one would you most like to have been a fly on the wall in the bench area during a game?
Yeah, I know Noreen was quite the character sometimes. I guess I'll go with him.
I'm actually surprised you didn't go with Robo on that.
I mean, I don't need to know. I said Noreen was an interesting character. I'm really not interested in Robo.
And we have come down to the end of the show. A big thanks to Matt Lipsack, Andrew Goldman, and Carrie and Mike Glenn for helping us out with the videos in this episode. I want to point out that these are all wonderful people who we couldn't thank enough for their contributions to the show over the past couple years. Their consternation during the videos, that was our idea. Because, let's face it, it would have been extremely pretentious for us to ask people to record videos saying nice stuff about us. And quite frankly, all four of them killed it.
Yeah, and it's probably a lot easier to get them to act annoyed with us than anything else.
So as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by HockeyFan.com. We're also syndicated on OhioHockeyDigest.com in the Phantom section. If you liked what you heard in this episode, make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you didn't like what you heard, subscribe anyways, maybe it'll get better. You can always check us out on social media, the links are down in the description. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. Thank you for coming along with us on this 2-year journey. Hopefully there will be plenty more to come, and we will talk to you all again soon.
Plenty more to come? I didn't agree to that.
Ugh. So close. So close to ending on a high note.